You never know who's at your door. It might be a Union soldier dressed up like a Confederate. It might be a guerrilla in a Union uniform. You don't know what side they're on. So how do you act? You tell survival lies. You tell what you think that person wants to hear. Trying to stay alive by saying whatever you thought would appease whoever's at your door became a way of life. And indeed, it did save a lot of lives. That was the case of Elvira Scott, who lived in Miami, Missouri, just south of here. Her journal entry for July 23, 1863, records that men in federal uniforms came to her house and demanded breakfast. Because she had overheard them earlier cheering for Jeff Davis, she knew those federal uniforms didn't mean anything. She knew they were bushwhackers. And even though she was a Southern sympathizer, she didn't want to provide breakfast because there were federal troops in the area, and if she provided breakfast and they found out about it, then they're going to take punishment on her. So she told them that. She said, the Federals will punish me if I feed you. Perhaps burn my house down. One of the bushwhackers said to her, well, madam, if you don't do it, fix our breakfast, we'll burn your house. You can make the choice. She fixed the breakfast. A classic example of the difficulty of identifying friend and foe can be found in the testimony against a suspected secessionist, Isaac Carmack, in Jasper County. Sworn testimony from Arminda Smith, Lydia Ivins, and Miranda Moore established that Carmack's daughters had talked with and fed bushwhackers, and that Carmack himself had helped several young men go south to the Confederate Army. On the other hand, Carmack had taken the oath of loyalty. And the thing about these oaths, nobody questioned your veracity. You swear you're loyal, that's it. Nobody starts questioning. Just think what would have happened if they started questioning that. He had taken the oath. Now, that same Lydia Ivins that had sworn about these Southern activities, she also spoke about Carmack's neutrality. She testified that he had been trying to hold both parties, Unionists and secessionists. She said, I've heard him say that he was going to be Union when the Union men were here, and he was going to be secession when the secessionists were here. So what do you do with her testimony? She's testified on both sides of this. And she had also taken an oath. So she was supposedly loyal Union. The plot thickens. She also offered this assessment of Carmack. He had the reputation in the neighborhood of being a bad man, of stealing livestock. What's worse than that? So where is the truth? Where is justice? What's the provost to do with him? And notice, all of the testimony against this man was women. They gave all of the testimony against him. The provost marshal paroled Carmack, required him to report to the militia twice a month. What are you going to do? Another example is the case of Alexander Irvin, a resident of Newton County. There was a good deal of testimony that Irvin was very likely an uncompromising rebel. Provost Marshal there was a man named Switzler. He recommended that Irvin be released from jail. His reasoning, Irvin was a sick old man, and they had too many sick prisoners as it was. Irvin also had money, and he could post a $4,000 bail bond. Interestingly, Switzler recognized that the evidence against Irvin might not be altogether accurate. And he wrote in his report, "The man may be a bad man, but I do know that there is a proneness among our soldiers, especially those who live in the southwest Missouri, to have a desire for revenge, and that their prejudices, in some instances, go so far as to render them incompetent almost to give testimony." So his own soldiers, he can't trust their testimony. Weighing heavily in Switzler's judgment was a letter from Irvin's wife. Very politely, she asked about the charges against her husband, confirmed their willingness to post bond, referred to her own poor health, and expressed gratitude to Switzler for his kindness. Also appended to the case are 2 letters from Lily Irvin to her husband. Personal letters that you just find in these public records. It's just like a gift from heaven. In these letters, she explained that she had left her children at home to be with him when he was arrested. Then she heard that her children had gotten sick, so she left her husband and gone back home. As soon as she got back home, she heard that he was sick. She is in turmoil. And she writes, "Dearest, you do not know what a trial it was for me to leave you." She held her emotions in until she got home, and then when she was alone, she could give way to tears. Her letters are filled with conflicted feelings of duty to children, duty to husband. They give heartfelt expression to her devotion to him. She reminded him to think of that holy love that I have for you. There is not a single bean on